Moon, our planet's only natural satellite. It's the reason we have tides in the ocean, which help floating plants and animals to reproduce. So what would happen if the moon exploded? And how could that happen? After all of this, what would be the effect on Earth? The idea of the exploding moon might not be as absurd as it sounds. In fact, exploding moons and planets were much more common when the solar system was young. At that time, the solar system was a chaotic place. Unlike today, with 8 planets following steady orbits like clockwork, there were many small planets flying all over the place. Sometimes they would collide. The Earth was almost certainly struck by another planet at one point, and it seems likely something similar happened to Mars. Those collisions must have resulted in spectacular explosions. In its collision, the Earth was likely ripped apart, throwing off a huge cloud of debris. In the years that followed, the debris clouds would have settled, reforming the Earth, but leaving a large second object in orbit that is our moon. Today, though, such collisions are rare. Even the largest known asteroid, Ceres, would not destroy the moon in a collision. You would need something like billions of SAR bombs, which are the most powerful nuclear weapons humanity has ever created, to destroy the moon. So artificially speaking, this is not a possibility where humans can destroy the natural satellite. Now, another option is something like gravitational disturbances. The idea, of course, is where 2 planets or moons get too close to each other, then the force of gravity gets so strong it starts tearing the objects apart. In theory, the Earth could do that to the moon if the moon for some reason were to get much, much closer to the Earth. To within 10,000 miles, the Earth would start tearing chunks off its natural satellite. Fortunately, the moon is over 200,000 miles away, so such an event is pretty unlikely. But it's not inconceivable. There is a way to create this condition, though. Billions of years from now, the sun, as it begins to die, will start to expand. The outer layers of the sun could reach all the way out to Earth. This would slow the moon down, sending it falling towards the Earth. As it gets closer to the Earth, it would start ripping apart before finally crashing into Earth. So now, what would happen after the moon exploded? Of course, during an explosion, the moon would break apart into many different pieces. Some of these pieces would be large and other pieces would be small. All of these moon debris would move in different directions. Some would move away from Earth, but some would move towards it. What happens to that leftover debris largely depends on the strength of the explosion. A weak explosion with larger pieces of debris might create new moons around the Earth. Instead of one large moon, we might actually see several smaller moons. A large explosion might cause the debris to scatter away from the Earth, or the debris would fall towards us and create meteors that could hit the surface of our planet. An explosion with a specific amount of power might create a set of rings around our planet, like Saturn. The rocks would orbit us and create more meteors and meteorites. If we had no moon, then we would be able to see way more stars at night. The moon casts a ton of light during the night, blocking our ability to see distant, faint stars with the naked eye. This would make the night sky seem brighter because of the ability to see stars further away. Similar to what would happen if there was no moon, the explosion would change the Earth's rotation and the size of the Earth's tide. The moon slows down the Earth's rotation, but a moon explosion would disrupt the friction. If the explosion does not alter the Earth's rotation, the lack of a moon would cause the Earth to rotate at a constant speed. This means that every day would be 24 hours long for the rest of the Earth's existence. The tides would also change because the gravity the moon exerts on the oceans would no longer exist. Perhaps more significantly is the fact that the moon affects the tilt of the Earth on its axis. Without the gravitational force of the moon, the Earth's tilt would destabilize and change severely. It is possible that Earth could tilt over 45 degrees without the moon. With this kind of tilt, the seasons would change. The temperatures across the globe would change significantly, and ice age would most likely occur in different parts of the planet because they would not experience as much sunlight. However, this scenario just isn't likely to occur. In fact, we actually don't think the moon will ever explode, so you can sleep well tonight. So now, let's talk about something that could actually happen in the near future. What if we build a moon base? Well, you know what? That sounds like a different scenario to speculate and investigate here on Discover Zen.